Hello, Reed. Good morning and welcome to the United Stand. Lots to get into this morning. Potentially a clear run at Declan Rice. Steven Bergwijn suddenly on Manchester United's radar, maybe. And also a few other transfer stories. But the big things I want to get into this morning is the fury of Jesse Lingard and his family that he wasn't afforded a goodbye cameo last night. And also the relentless nature of the media in this country going in on Ralf Rangnick. It needs calling out, it needs calling out, it needs calling out, and it's going to be called out. So we're going to start off first of all with Jesse Lingard's brother on Instagram yesterday. Disgusted, said we deserve to be in the Conference League. We're not going to be in the Conference League, we're going to be in the Europa League, by the way. We deserve to be in the Conference League. Jesse Lingard's won FA Cups, he's scored goals, he's been here since he was a kid. He deserves to be played, it's a disgrace, this, that and the other. And look, you know what? First of all, I just want to say everything's very subjective. There will be two sides to the story, but the reality is Jesse Lingard is furious that he didn't play last night, didn't get to say goodbye to the Old Trafford crowd. I was furious with Lingard's performance with Rashford against Man City at the Etihad. Exactly, two youth players coming on against Man City and walking around. So, you know what? It swings and roundabouts. What I would say is I think that Lingard deserved more of a send-off than Cavani. I thought Cavani has been a joke since January, but here's the ointment. I wouldn't have brought Cavani on. I wouldn't have brought Lingard on. I'd have brought Garnacho on. So sit down, both of you. It's not Lingard or Cavani. It should have been Garnacho. So I've got no problem with Ralf Rangnick not bringing Jesse Lingard on yesterday. Absolutely none at all. And what annoys me about it is that we wake up after one of our better performances of the season, where I thought Wan-Bissaka was majestic. Man of the match, and we wake up the next morning and it's about a player that didn't play. And is that not the story of the season for you? Selfish vibes. Even when we have one rare good performance, it gets pushed aside by, why didn't Lingard play? Oh, Lingard. And Wan-Bissaka just drifts into the background again. And it's disgusting. And it absolutely exposes the problem at Manchester United this season, is that we are so fixated on selfish players. And we all know who they are. And there's 7 or 8 of them, and they make it about themselves, and that's why this season is disintegrated, and that's why we won last night, because none of those played. We played as a team last night. May not be the best quality players, but the 11 players that played as a team, and we put in the best team performance of the season. We wake up the next day, and we're talking about individuals again not being happy. We're talking about dressing room unrest, not being happy. You didn't even fucking play, and we didn't want you to play. And you're still moaning, ruining it for people like Wan-Bissaka and Nemanja Matic, who actually got the send-off they deserved yesterday because they played well on the pitch. And I'm just tired of this season. I can't wait for them to go. I cannot wait for some of these players to go, and I wish a few more of them would go with it as well. I mean, look, we're talking about one player because his brother's put an Instagram tweet out. I'm sorry. Rangnick said on Friday, this isn't a farewell sentimental tour. This is about winning the game of football. And people like Wan-Bissaka and Matic got the farewell, but their performance was very, very good. In the case of Lingard, literally 2 weeks ago, Paul Scholes said that Lingard was the leak. He leaked that the dressing room was a disaster. Doesn't get to play for United. I mean, we've been talking about these leaks, and unfortunately, many people in the media have protected those leaks. Gary Neville knows who they are. The Manchester Evening News know who they are. Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic, he knows who they are. They won't tell you. They want you to read their articles, but they won't tell you who the leaks are because they're protecting them. Well, that doesn't protect Man United's fan base. That doesn't protect Manchester United. You keeping it a secret, who's leaking your information. I understand why you do it. That's journalism, I suppose. But Paul Scholes said that Jesse Lingard had told him that dressing room was a disaster. Unfortunately for Jesse, he isn't the biggest leak, and he's not the only one by a long way, but he got exposed as somebody who leaked information from the club. And Ralf Rangnick has basically said, you're not playing. He might start against Brighton, he might play against Crystal Palace, but we can't have double standards. Unfortunately for Jesse, he's been exposed at the wrong time because he's not the only league, if he is the biggest league. But United are in a position where they need to win a game of football, and Ralf Rangnick hasn't chosen him. It's as simple as that. And I think that, you know, I'm just tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of the fact that we put in a good performance last night, and people, like I say, like Wan-Bissaka and Matic deserve real credit, and we're waking up in the morning because somebody's brother. And look, the players need to get a hold on this. You know, it's embarrassing for you family members sticking your nose in you. And look, Lingard's not the only one. We've had it with Maguire, we've had it with Rashford, we've had it with other players, whereby family members are getting onto Twitter. I think we've had it with Ronaldo, actually. We've had it with a lot of players. It's embarrassing because it will always come back on the player. And look, everyone's got the right to an opinion, but I think on this one, all right, I would have brought Lingard on over Cavani, but I'd have brought Garnacho on ahead of both of them. And ultimately, we've just won a game of football 3-0. I really couldn't give a shit about cameos. If you put the effort in and put the performance in this season, when you have been given starts, Lingard has been given opportunities, and he's not played very well. He started against Leeds. He didn't play very well. Like, you've got to grab your opportunity. It's as simple as that. As Matthew Gartell says, it's the entitlement that has destroyed us recently. They are so self-entitled. They are so stuck up their own arse. They really do believe their own hype. And RANGNICK, in fairness, has just destroyed that. Next season, we better not have any leaks, says Ishmael. Well, look, whatever you think about that team that won last night, I think it's a team I'd stick with till the end of the season, and then let Ten Hag solve the problems of Maguire and Bruno and Wan-Bissaka and Rashford. You know, RANGNICK, I'd just stick with this team. They're acting like spoiled little kids, says Dazzo, and that's been the problem of the season. We've acted like spoiled little kids all season, and it's undermined the season. We finally hit on a set of players that are working together, and still the ones that don't play are moaning about game time. We're Manchester United. We're about to get our lowest Premier League points total ever, and somebody that's barely contributed this season wants a little cameo at the end of a game. Jog on. How about having a cameo when we started you in other games when we needed you earlier in the season? I disagree with it. I disagree with it. You earn a lot of money to play that shirt, and if you want a goodbye, I mean, Paul Pogba's goodbye was being booed. He ain't going to play in front of Old Trafford again, is he? So, look, I find it odd. And the interesting thing is how it spills on into the media. I was listening to Carragher and Keane last night, and they were talking about RANGNICK, and they were saying Ralf Rangnick can't be the Austrian coach and work at United 2 days a week. It's a joke. It's a farce. And then I listened to other podcasts and read other outlets before the weekend, before the game, and people are going, yeah, Rangnick's been a disaster as a coach. Yes, he's playing to the fans with his interviews, but he's been a disaster as a coach. And I think there is a general dislike of Rangnick in the ex-player community and the media. And look, they'll say, oh no, I don't dislike him, but it's very bloody obvious. I mean, it's only 6 short months ago that we were listening to you live up the arse of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when we're getting hammered by Liverpool. But, you know, Rangnick actually calls the players out that caused most of the problems this season, and he gets the criticism. I mean, as for Rangnick not staying at the club, there are genuinely people in this country, there are ex-players and there are media going, no, Rangnick staying on as a consultant is ridiculous. You don't need to listen to Rangnick when you've got Murta and Fletcher. All right, we don't need to listen to Rangnick, who's better than Murta and Fletcher, who is willing to be part of this rebuild as a consultant. We definitely do need to listen to Rangnick because he might teach Murta and Fletcher something, and I'm sure they'd be willing to learn from him. But as for the nonsense, absolute nonsense that seems to be building up, and I don't know whether it's the club building this because they want to move him on. It seems very weird to me, and let's just watch the next few weeks. I'm hearing a lot of, it's ridiculous. Rangnick, there's no point Rangnick staying now. He's took the Austrian job. You can't do both things. And I'm like, why are the media so fixated by this? Why are certain ex-players so fixated by this? Are they being fed it by the club? Are the club trying to prepare the fans for the removal of Rangnick? Because I'm telling you now, these media outlets and these ex-players, they might want to listen to what the fans want, because in the eyes of the fans, Ralf Rangnick, in the majority eyes of the fans, is a legend for what he's done this season. And I say a legend in the very loosest sense, but in relation to a season that's been terrible, he's been one of the few that have actually called it out, and not called it out in the way that it's his fault, because it clearly isn't. He inherited a sinking ship, and he's done a very, very good job. And of course you can, I mean, Gus Hiddink, I think, did the Russian job and the Chelsea job at the same time. He's not managing Manchester United. He's a consultant on recruitment. He'll spend more time on the toilet each month than he will working for Man United. It's a few hours a week. It's ridiculous that people are saying he can't do that job. International football. Bloody Gareth Southgate could do a bloody I've been to every ground in 24 hours. He's always at games, watching games in England, because England don't play very often. Austrian coach, he's going to get at least 8 months off where he's just recruiting and researching and watching games, which easily he combined with Austria. So, look, Manchester United and Rangnick need to keep their relationship going. Outside of yesterday's starting at 11 and against Villa away, it's become so apparent who are the players sowing discord in the background. Get rid of them, says Julian. Well, I think last night, and Villa away are two of our best performances of the season. I don't think we had an English player on the pitch apart from Sancho in either game. So I'm not saying the English players are the problem, but it's interesting, the club's obsession with Solskjaer's obsession with buying Premier League players has really backfired massively, because there are some good English players. I think Sancho's very good. I think Luke Shaw can be a value. Maybe Rashford can come back, but we spent a lot of money on this Premier League obsession, which was 30 years old. We're lucky Rangnick wants to stay after the way he's been treated, says Emily Derry. And Gary Neville said after 80 minutes that United have been poor this season. Express over the last 5 months. Nothing about Ollie at the start of the season, says Daz O'Bear. Media and ex-players are probably losing their contacts and control after Rangnick exposing leaks in the club is why they are moaning. Sarvish, I think it's disgusting. I mean, I think we've had so few opportunities to be positive over this season, and last night actually was a time to be positive, and give those players like Ronaldo and Mata and Matic and Varane and Lindelof and De Gea some real praise, and they deserved it. And we're waking up to it disgusts me. It absolutely disgusts me, if I'm honest, how the media and certain ex-players have gone in on Rangnick. I've noticed it for the last 3 or 4 months. And why are they doing it? You didn't do it with Solskjaer, and now you're doing it with Rangnick, who's probably done more good in 5 months than Ollie did in 3 years, because he's actually called out the problems. If Rangnick hadn't been so vocal about these problems, we wouldn't probably necessarily know about them. If Rangnick hadn't benched some of these players and not refused to pick them, then we probably wouldn't have been exposed to what the problem is. I think he's done a great job in a very short period of time. Yes, we haven't got 4th place, but that was never going to happen. It was very obvious when we lost to Watford, we were never getting 4th place. If you can get smacked up by Watford and Leicester the way these players have, they were never going to get 4th place, and they never deserved 4th place. The fact that we're going to finish 6th is about as best as he could have done. Obviously, the Champions League and the FA Cup was disappointing, but what I find hilarious is I'm no coach. Neither's most of our ex-players. They would have done a worse job than Rangnick, because they probably would have been all about being mates. Look at my phone, look at this, that's what would have happened, and it just would have been an absolute car crash. So I think Rangnick's done a decent job. I hope we build a Moneyball system when looking at new players rather than spending big or buying players that won't get a look in, says Jack Birtles. Let's hope that Eric Ten Hag doesn't indulge the self-entitled prats and freeze and sells them. You know which players I mean, says Anurag. Well, look, Ten Hag's got a massive job ahead of him, but You know what as well, what disgusts me is that we bought Wan-Bissaka in 2014. January 2014 we bought Wan-Bissaka. He's been here 8.5 years. And last night he was the quintessential number 10. He was the definition of how you play as a number 10. Getting hold of the ball, retaining the possession, not looking for the Hollywood pass every second. Mata won't shoot from distance. That's not his game. And suddenly you've got a player that wants to move the ball about, wants to keep possession, and I'm not talking about Rangnick or the last 4 months here. I'm talking about Solskjaer, I'm talking about Mourinho, I'm talking about Van Gaal, I'm talking about Moyes. What a waste. I wish we had Wan-Bissaka when he was 27 again. Imagine Wan-Bissaka at 27. You'd build the team around him. Based on his performance last night. If he was 27, bit more mobile, you'd build a team around him. What a shocking waste of a player over the last 8.5 years. Yeah, we got Wanfield and we've had a couple of other moments, but predominantly he's played off the wing. What a joke, an absolute joke. These players don't like Ralph, says Ishmael. Certain players do. I actually would agree with Ishmael there. Look, I heard somebody say a couple of days ago, you've got to call Rangnick out. The coaching has been a disaster, the tactics have been all over the place, and nobody respects him or his coaches. Well, he wasn't respected. United broke the season off in November, says Jack Harrison. He wasn't respected when the board left him with Solskjaer's coaches and didn't let him bring his own coaches in. He wasn't respected when he was overruled. I mean, look, let's not be quiet about this. Rangnick wanted Lingard gone in January. Lingard wanted to go in January. The club overruled it. If Lingard's pissed off that he didn't get a farewell tour, blame it on the board, not Ralph Rangnick. Ralph Rangnick wanted Lingard gone. We all know what happened in the last few days of the January transfer window. Rangnick said Lingard can go. Lingard wanted to go and the club said no. So this whole Lingard thing's on the club. Rangnick wanted a midfielder in January. They didn't get it. That's on the club. So don't ever forget the club's role in this. They made a right pig's ear of this, and as was just said there, We've spoken about this many times. They wrote the season off in January. Everyone on ESPN was ripping Ralph after the Arsenal game as if it was his fault that Rashford wasn't running, says Justin. I will tell you right now, I've seen too many times this season, and I could list off the games. You know, we've mentioned Lingard and Rashford. Even the BBC Match of the Day called those two out. They came on for 20 minutes and walked. We've seen it with Rashford against Chelsea. I was listening to the Manchester Evening News podcast on Friday. On Friday, after the Chelsea game, they're talking about the Chelsea game, how bad it was. McTominay gets called out 2 or 3 times. They never mentioned Rashford. What's that all about then? Have you got a little connection there? Is he giving you a bit of info? The reporting is just poor at times. Like, it's really poor. Not one mention of Marcus Rashford, who was dreadful on Thursday night. Loads about McTominay. And it's like, we've seen it too many times this season. There's too many relationships where certain media outlets protect people, and we all know that's going on, and we probably know who's doing it. We've also seen constant bad performances from players. And I'll tell you for one, Ralf Rangnick, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, with this team, wouldn't make any difference. They are absolutely responsible for this season, and they've just let it go through their own selfishness. And we've woken up to it this morning. We should be talking about a positive result. We should be talking about Mata's career and Matic's career as they leave Manchester United with 2 games left to go. They'll play those games, but they're both away from home. We're not. We're waking up this morning talking about a player that didn't even play a minute, moaning because he didn't play a minute, but even though he's been bad this season. Devil's advocate here. Why didn't Rangnick play Mata earlier? This week wouldn't be the first time when he realised that Mata is still quality as a 10. Why didn't he use him more, especially against teams in the mid-table? Anna Rugg, I think that's a great comment, and it's something that I've been sort of running through the last this morning over my porridge. Good win from the veterans. Hopefully keep quiet. The people saying we should play the youth, says Michael. Why hasn't he picked? Well, look, the reason we played well last night, and I'll say it again, the reason United played well last night is because the players that have played most of the season crap didn't play. So that's why we played well last night. The question as to why Matic hasn't played more and why Wan-Bissaka hasn't played more, well, to me, the simple answer is this. Why hasn't Lindelof and Varane played more and Maguire's been picked all the time? Why has Bruno constantly been picked at number 10 when you could have played Donny there at the start of the season? You could have played Mata there since January. I don't know the answer to those questions, but Ollie never did it on any of those positions, and Rangnick's never done it as well. Player power, influence from the board. You've got to pick this player. I don't know. I don't know. Why has Mata not been given a chance at number 10 for the last 8.5 years? I don't know. I don't think it's right to say, well, Rangnick's to blame. Like, Mata's never been played as a number 10. And I don't honestly know the answer to it. Maybe there's club politics we don't know about. Maybe people are really influential in the dressing room. Maybe the board are telling them to do certain things. I don't know. What we do know is that Ralf Rangnick has been undermined a lot by this board, so it wouldn't surprise me if certain people have to play. But I don't honestly know the answer. One thing I would say is, and I'd argue this even with Ricky, Wan-Bissaka could not play every game at number 10. He can't play 90 minutes at number 10. And Brentford suited him very, very well because Brentford will gift up possession and hit on the break. So you can play a high line and you can get possession higher up the pitch, and that suits Mata. If you were playing against a Man City or a Chelsea or a Liverpool, maybe even an Arsenal who want to, play a high line themselves and get at you, does Mata become as effective? Mata couldn't play 90 minutes last night. He wouldn't be able to play 90 minutes against anybody, so that's probably a reason why he's not started as well. Ex-United players believe they get to have a bigger say on the club due to affiliation with Fergie. They're just as disposable as Arashi and Shaw. Only difference is Fergie wasn't ruthless to them as much as time is on the essence. Well, Sir Alex Ferguson was very, very ruthless in relation to Van Nistelrooy, Jaap Stam, Roy Keane. So look, if you want to, the trouble with United is when they look at the past for the future, they ignore the bits from the past they don't want to use. Oh, we're all about developing youth and players coming through the team and this, that and the other. But Sir Alex Ferguson was ruthless with youth as well. If they weren't good enough, they got rid of them. He got rid of first team legends if he felt they were causing him a problem. So, and also Elite Few makes a great point about the number 10. The number 10 has to work hard as well. You've got to defend as well. And I think Matt is 34. People were saying last night, give him another year. Don't give him another year. Just give him the send-off he deserves, same as Matic. What we need is a younger Wan-Mata and a younger Nemanja Matic to run that midfield. Which brings us on to a little bit of transfer news, actually. Let's talk about this Declan Rice story. Declan Rice transfer boost, I suppose. This was coming from ESPN yesterday, that Manchester United have got a clear run at Declan Rice, basically insinuating that Manchester United are the only horse in the race for Declan Rice. Now, this would be very nice as a story, although it would still be a debate point, even if we did have a free run at Declan Rice, because West Ham would still want 80, 90 million pounds for him. So even if we've got a free run at Declan Rice, do you want to spend 80, 90 million pounds on him? I think he's a great player. Well, not a great, that's probably a bit harsh, but I think he's a very good player with the potential to be a great player. And you look at the job that Nemanja Matic did last night, and Declan Rice would do that job better than Matic. Declan Rice is actually a very cultured footballer. He likes to pass, he can dribble, he can hit a good pass, and he's more mobile, and he's a good tackler. So Declan Rice would be an upgrade on Matic last night, who obviously had a decent game. So look, Declan Rice at Man United would be a very welcome addition. I don't know whether you spend 80, 90 million quid on him though. I think when you're looking to do a rebuild, you need to buy 5 players, and if you buy Declan Rice, you probably limit yourself to 2 or 3 max. So that's the issue with Declan Rice. But absolutely categorically, we haven't got a clear race at Declan Rice. I don't know where this story's come. Well, I know it's coming from ESPN, but I don't know who's giving them that story. I don't know whether that story is there to kick Man City and Chelsea into action. But I know for a fact Chelsea would love to buy Declan Rice, and I obviously know that Declan Rice used to play for Chelsea and would like to go back and play for Chelsea. So maybe Chelsea's new ownership might cause a few issues. They need to get that sorted quickly, but I expect Chelsea will get it sorted because the summer's very important to Chelsea and their new ownership. And I think Chelsea are definitely in the race. So I don't believe we've got a clear run at Declan Rice, to be honest with you. I'd be very surprised if we bought him. Unfair on how pundits criticise United for letting RANGNICK stay on whilst managing Austria, considering Neville was England coach while managing Valencia, says Ace Greenway. And maybe Eric Ten Hag in negotiations told the board to let RANGNICK make his own choices the rest of the season to show they can let a manager make choices, says Will Scott. Interesting theory. Interesting theory. But no, just going back to that point from Ace Greenway, I mean, look, you saw it. You probably saw it yourself. There were, Carragher was saying it last night. I think Roy Keane said it as well. We've heard it from a few other people as well, that Manchester United should not be, keeping. I mean, I'm slightly amazed by it, actually, that people. Well, I'm not amazed by it. I always think it's not coincidence. There's clearly something going on here that too many people who you think wouldn't really care. What does it matter to Jamie Carragher that Ralf Rangnick becomes a consultant and manages Austria as well? When would that ever be something that Carragher? It's about the structure. It's about the players. I can't believe it. I can't believe Ralf Rangnick is going to have the Austrian players and be a consultant. I mean, I can't believe that's keeping Jamie Carragher up at night. So who's in his ear making that an issue? I don't know, because Jamie Carragher's never managed anybody. How does he know you can't manage a national team and be a consultant for Manchester United? I think it's very easy to manage an Austrian national team and be a consultant to Manchester United. I think it's very easy. I mean, look, a day in the life of an Austrian national manager. It's the 3rd of May. Right, okay. It's Tuesday the 3rd of May. I wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, a bowl of porridge, maybe something gets moving. I sit on the toilet, on my phone, it's 10 o'clock. What am I going to do with the rest of my day? Right. No matches today. Internationals at the start of June. Pretty much know what my squad's going to be. Might take in a few games just to see if I'm going to add some other players to my squad. Oh, an email from Man United about my consultancy role. We're thinking about buying these players. Have you got any suggestions? Okay, a couple of phone calls. Yeah. That's a couple of hours done for Man United today. I've only got to do 6 in the week. What the fuck? How difficult is it to be a national coach and do a few hours a week as a consultant for Man United on recruitment? Piece of piss. And you've got people being paid a lot of money in the media going, it's a nonsense, you can't do it. They've never bloody done it themselves, and it's not a big deal. Like I said, Rangnick will spend more time on the toilet each month than he will actually doing this job for United. And it's very, very important because John Murtagh, Darren Fletcher, Eric Ten Hag have got somebody who they can pick up the phone to, they can go and have a chat with, they can have a meeting with, who has built clubs. And yet you've got complete and utter nonsense merchants who are saying Rangnick should leave. He's Austrian coach, you can't do both. Oh, I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that. So we've got the opportunity for a guy who's built clubs, who's got a vast knowledge of the European scene and the transfer market. We need one of the biggest transfer summers we've ever had. We've got this guy who knows it like the back of his hand, who's definitely better at this than Fletcher and Murtagh. And Fletcher and Murtagh can be supported by him this summer. But let's get rid of him. I mean, it's a nonsense. It's a nonsense, and there's an underlying reason for this. I don't know whether they just don't like Rangnick. I don't know whether the club are pushing it. But watch out, because there's absolute nonsense as to why you would get rid of Ralf Rangnick when he's an Austrian coach. He's got plenty of time. Could we throw Lingard into the deal for Rice? Says Ashley Smith. Potential. Well, no, he's on a free, isn't he? He's going to go for nothing. If it was another club, they would say how good he is doing for sowing. Because it's United, it's bad news, says Michael. And do you feel Rangnick may be able to get us some discounts of Austrian players as a national manager, says Mayfair? No more so than he can get us discounts for Leipzig players who aren't Austrian. I don't think that we need to go and buy Austrian just because he's the Austrian coach. I mean, I like Lehmer, but there's lots of players at Leipzig. He'll have a wide knowledge of players. I mean, interestingly, there's a story this morning about Steven Bergwijn of Spurs. He's been mentioned around United a couple of times now. He was asked directly about Man United and Ten Hag and says, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. That's the second time we've been linked to Steven Bergwijn, and for £20 million, Man United might be able to do a deal there. Look, I'm not going to lie. That sort of a deal worries me a lot. Bergwijn has been in the Premier League for 2 years now? It's not worked out. Glimpse, I know he scored against us, but it's not worked out. How many managers has he played under at Spurs? Mourinho, Nuno, and now Conte, and he's not been able to get in the team. That, to me, is not a good deal. Now, look what Ten Hag did with Sebastian Haller. So, if Ten Hag decides that Steven Bergwijn is the player that he wants, then we just got to go with it and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, look, we'll bring you the news and we'll discuss it. For me, I'd be very worried about a deal like that. But maybe it's a deal that you do for 20 million quid. He's 24 years of age. You can get value out of it. I was talking about this last night. I think when you look at someone like Christian Eriksen for free in the summer, there'll be a big queue for him. It won't just be United. It'll be probably Spurs, maybe Leicester, a few other clubs as well. You look at the job that Wan-Bissaka did yesterday. Christian Eriksen can do a similar job to Mata. Some would say he can do a better job than Mata. He's a better player than Mata. I certainly think he is a better player than Mata at the moment. You could get him for free as well. And some people are turning their nose up. I don't want Eriksen. I bloody want Eriksen, because if Bruno can't adapt to that number 10 role and do it like Mata did last night, you're very reliant on Donny doing it. Well, Eriksen coming in gives you another option. And of course, we're going to lose Mata. We're going to lose Lingard. So you do need to replace these players. And we've got a lot of young players coming through that would benefit from somebody like a Christian Eriksen. Morning, Mark. Is it possible Rangnick took the Austria job because his role is part-time? Says Mikael Ray. Yeah, look. Rangnick's job at Manchester United was always going to be part-time as a consultant. So he's got every right to... I don't think there's an issue with that at all. Ronaldo, a few people talking about Ronaldo. Please do... thanks for everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video, of course. If you want to become a member, click the members button. We've got a new video up for you coming up this week. Our latest video exclusive for the members club is about Nunez, a deep dive into him. There's one on Timber. There's one on Anthony. So check out the members club. You can click the join button at the top of the chat to do that. Thanks for our members. Make sure you watch the exclusive content. I'm going to start a playlist actually this week for you. Pereira can jog on, Matt. I've got no interest in Andreas Pereira. For me, Andreas Pereira's... I'd rather keep Jesse Lingard than Andreas Pereira. I mean, there's a reason. He's been on loan for about 10 years. He's just not good enough, so we need to move him on. In relation to Ronaldo, Rangnick said last night, as far as I'm concerned, Ronaldo will be a Man United player next season. I think as far as Cristiano Ronaldo is concerned, he'll be a Man United player next season. There's no change on Ronaldo. There was definitely no goodbye thing from Ronaldo yesterday. That was not in the plan. He's not going to leave Manchester United as things are, but of course we're in for a big summer. There's going to be a lot of upheaval. There's going to be a lot of change. Erik ten Hag and Ronaldo haven't even had that chat yet. Now, when they have that chat, Ronaldo might be like, yeah, I'm very happy here. When he's had that chat, he might be, I don't want to be here. So no change on Ronaldo. I would expect him to be a Man United player next year. I'm 90% sure he will be a United player next year. But if for some reason things break down, or for some reason somebody comes in with a really big offer that's a Champions League club, then potentially he would leave. But I fully expect to see Cristiano Ronaldo as a Manchester United player. Twitch today says, Lars, yeah, Champions League final day, if you're into all that. 3 o'clock today, we will be live for the Champions League final of my FIFA career mode in Season 1 as well. Don't know how we've done it, because we're mid-table in the league, but we're in the Champions League final against City. So that'll be interesting. I'll get the suit on for that. So yeah, Ronaldo I fully expect to stay at the moment. I don't see Ronaldo moving on, and it makes no sense. I mean, one thing we've always discussed, even when we've had Fabrizio on the show. Welcome to the Members Club, Justin. Good evening, Mark. Are you coming to Australia for the Man United tour, says George? I don't know at the moment, George. I mean, I probably should know if I was going to come, so I'd err on the side of no. But I've got a few things going on, as you know, in a few weeks' time that need to work through before I can start thinking about stuff like that. But yeah, the thing about Ronaldo is, and he does it all the time, even last year, the King, welcome to the Members Club. He will wait till the summer. He will wait till the season's over, because the reason people like Ronaldo are GOATs of the game is because they're focused. They don't let things distract them. If you look at some of our players between January and now, we won't name names, but we won't name names, but we know them. Have they been focused on Manchester United? No. Have their performances been bad? Yes. Ronaldo, has he been focused on leaving United? No. Has he been focused on staying at United? No. He's been focused on the here and now, getting Portugal to the World Cup. You know, performing like he has done in the last few weeks, focused on the now, performing now. When the season ends, Ronaldo will think about his next season. Simple as that. So I would be 90% sure Ronaldo's going to stay. We'll have to wait and see. Things can change. It's going to be a very changeable summer. A few people talking about Lautaro Martinez. This story is a load of bollocks. I spoke to somebody this morning, and we've been linked to Lautaro Martinez many a time in the past. There was a story yesterday from Italy that Manchester United would offer up Anthony Martial as part of a swap deal. I'm told this is a load of nonsense. This is just noise, much the same as Milinkovic-Savic. You get a lot of this in Italy, where United get thrown in the hat and deals get mentioned, and there's nothing progressing on that at the moment. And the big reason nothing is progressing on that, and the big reason the story's a load of nonsense, is beyond a holding midfielder and a centre-back and a forward, Man United aren't working on any other deals. And people will say, well, Lautaro Martinez is a forward, but he's not a forward United are looking at. He's not on the list. Nunez is on the list. He's the number one target. There's a couple of other people. Even Richarlison has been mentioned. But Lautaro Martinez is not on the list at the moment, and he's not under discussion, so there's no swap deal in place. And Martial's not decided what he's doing yet, and Ten Hag's not started the job yet. So there are certain deals where it's very obvious it's a load of nonsense. You can find out it's a load of nonsense, and that is a load of nonsense. It doesn't mean that Dybalas and Milinkovic-Savic's and Lautaro Martinez's, maybe they become targets for United in June. They're not at the moment. I don't think they'll become targets in June, but never say never. But they're certainly not targets at this moment in time. The only deals United are focused on are centre-back, centre midfielder and a striker, and those targets have been set for weeks now, and they are looking at those deals and getting Ten Hag's opinion on it. Full-backs, other players, other targets not under consideration until Ten Hag tells them to. And at the moment, Ten Hag, obviously after another win at the weekend, is looking very good for the Dutch title, but he's very focused on Ajax. So there's going to be a lot of change. I mean, we had the mention of the left-back from Feyenoord at the weekend. That would be very much be an Erik Ten Hag target. Being realistic is the best way to be positive. No Champions League next season, so better to be hoping for young talents with good work rate joining in the summer, says Jinesh. Thoughts on Ndidi? Granted, he didn't have the best of season, but he's still a quality midfielder. I wouldn't go anywhere near Ndidi Anurag. 2 reasons. 1, Leicester would want silly money. 2, he gets injured a lot. Actually, thought Bruno looked really good yesterday. I think with better passes around him like Mata, he's played for so long with crap around him, says Aram. I think Bruno works better with a proper number 10, yeah. I would agree with that. It showed a different way of playing. You don't have to have 2 wide forwards who are strikers. Ralf Rangnick himself said last night we need two strikers. But what he meant and clarified was he thinks Man City and Liverpool have got 5 or 6 strikers. He counts Salah and Mane as strikers because that's the modern way of thinking. You know, we talk about striker and we think about a number 9 like a Lewandowski. Rangnick's talking about the front 3. That they're all forwards. They can all mix and match. So we need 2, and I think he's probably right. I'd love us to bring in a Darwin Nunez and Kunku or an Anthony. I think he's right with that. Be very look. I'm not going to spend any time talking about Marcus Rashford. He as I said last night, he shouldn't have started the game, and really he shouldn't have been brought on. His job is in the summer to come back and prove he's a United player, and that job's his job. It's not our job to discuss it. I don't want to discuss it, but we do need to bring in a couple of forwards, and I think that hopefully United will do that. And Kunku is a very interesting player as well, as is Darwin Nunez and a few other players. But I do believe that United are going to be very, very active, and I think that I also agree with that previous comment. I mean, look, Lingard's brother even said we're in the Conference League. We're not. We could have been. I think before that Arsenal game. Look, West Ham and Wolves, I think, have lost their last 2 games. We've taken 4 points from our last 2 games. We've bridged a gap now that basically confirms that we will get 6th place, which means we're in the Europa League. There was a time 2-3 weeks ago where I was thinking we might be in the Conference League, and that would have been a bloody nightmare. We don't want to be in that tournament. Europa League ain't good enough for United. We should have walked top 4 this year. But it became very, very clear, even before Ralph Rangnick came into the club, that top 4 was going to be a very, very difficult ask, and we've got nowhere near it. So I will take the Europa League. I will take the performance last night as a one-off. Then, you know, too many players who played well last night won't even be here next year. So we've got to rebuild over the summer, and I think Erik ten Hag will be sat there this morning, sipping on his coffee, having a bite of a croissant, going, you know what, the world is good. I should get Ajax into the title position, and United have pretty much got Europa League football. I can live with that. I wasn't expecting Champions League football, and in some ways, as a manager, Erik ten Hag, I would obviously prefer Champions League football, but it's not a bad thing to be in the Europa League because you're taking over the club in the Europa League. You didn't put the club there. The only way is up, and I think for Erik ten Hag, he didn't put the club in the Europa League, so he can't take the negative. As soon as the season kicks off next year, I don't think there'll be a lot of moaning about us being in the Europa League because Ten Hag didn't put us there, and a lot of the players that are going to play won't have put us there because we'll have had a big summer in the transfer window. So it will be a fresh start, and Erik ten Hag will be able to go, well, I'm going to pick a different team in the Europa League anyway. I'm going to give some of the fringe players, some of the young players game time in the Europa League group stage for the first bit. We won't need to start playing the first team properly in the Europa League until next February when we're in the knockout stage. So, and of course, if you finish top of your Europa League group, you don't play you don't play a game until the last 16. You don't play a last 32 anymore. So there's less games in that sense. So I think the Europa League can be a positive. And I also think that it's another route into the Champions League. So United have got 2 routes into the Champions League next year. We've got 4th place. I don't think we'll get 3rd because you've got Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City. We've got 4th place to go for and win the Europa League. And I think those 2 have got to be United's priorities. We're talking about winning a trophy as well. I think the Europa League could be really important for United next year. And people will go, oh, look at Goldbridge saying the Europa League is important for United. Look how the standards have dropped. What do you mean, look how the standards have dropped? Where have you been for the last 9 years? The standards have been dropping for 9 fucking years. It's nothing. I'm not won the title yesterday, and then I'm going, look at us in the Conference League. We've not won a title. We've not won a trophy for 5 years. Don't go, Goldbridge, look at how the standards drops. He wants to win the Europa League. We've won nothing for 5 years. So I think next season, winning the Europa League would solve a couple of problems. It qualifies for the Champions League, and it would win us a trophy that we haven't done for 5 years. So the Europa League could be really important for Manchester United and Erik ten Hag next year. It's not where we want to be. But I tell you what, I'll call you a liar if you say we deserve to be in the Champions League. This season's been an abysmal season. We don't deserve to be in the top 4. Say what you like about Arsenal and Spurs, but they definitely deserve to be racing top 4 ahead of us. And the rebuild will start, of course. Anyway, look, back at 2 o'clock. I've got prep for my Champions League final tonight, so make sure you tune in at 2. If you can't tune in at 2, make sure you tune into Twitch at 3, Goldbridge TV on Twitch. Big week on Twitch, actually. I'm doing a Jaws watch along on Thursday night. That's going to be fun. Make sure you check out Twitch this afternoon. I'll give you more details on that. But it is Champions League final day in my FIFA career mode, season 1 as Man United manager. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Hope you have a good day. Thanks to the new members who clicked the join button. Make sure you check out the exclusive content there. And enjoyed the show this morning. Yeah, call them out. Call out these bullshit nonsense that's being said this morning. It's not right. We should be talking about Mata and Matic and their performances over the last couple of games, and, you know, not negative things about people who didn't even bloody play, or nonsense that RANGNICK can't do a national job and a few hours a week as a United consultant.